Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Getting this out a little bit later this week. Going to be talking the week 11 underdog slate, drafting some teams. We may have just gotten some news. Don't know if it's real news. Don't know if it's fake news. I'm going to let the people stroll in. First, before we do this, meant to mention last week, someone reminded me on Wednesday that the guy who took down the Battle Royale draft is part of my Discord last week. So the guy who got first Notorious Parlay, he hangs around in my Discord. You can join that link in the bio. Not doing a write-up this week. Had to do an event this weekend, so just didn't have enough time. But let's just run through what I wrote last week. Had some good calls. Again, I'm 99% a best ball site, so. But, we write up the weekly slate. Okay. The quarterbacks, honestly, scroll downs like quarterbacks are tough on a short week. They all sucked, but that's not a great position to scroll. My write-ups primarily for the, went through some strategy. This is some of the biggest thing you can do. Just don't be super chalk. And then Rashid Shaheed, he was not eligible, also didn't play well. Wandale and Slayton, they had a good game, but not good enough to win. Write-ups primarily focused around the main slate. Shakir and Keon both had decent games. Keon scored a touchdown, but again, not enough. Henderson, that was a great call. And what I wrote is true, right? Ramondre's out. Public sentiment's low. These are me writing up guys who have an ADP of 35 plus. So if we jump into a draft, let's just show what we're talking about here. 36 players get drafted in a draft, right? 36. You got to take a quarterback. You got to take a tight end. So if you're taking a player with an ADP of 35 plus, so this week that would be Judkins, it would be Dobbs, it would be Ricky Pearsall. Somehow he's playing. Like, that's a great scroll to me. Cortland Sutton, Keenan, etc. These players are not getting drafted 100% and sometimes at a very low percentage. Crushed it at tight end. Juwan had a great game. Theo Johnson had a great game. K. Dotton had a good game. Not as good for half point. But, yeah, we're going to do this portion of the show. We're just going to do this live. And then we may got in news that Keon Coleman might be a healthy scratch tomorrow. I don't know if that's true or not. Let's pull up the tweet. This is from Cover One, who does cover the Bills. They do a lot of great stuff there. I don't know if they actually have a source that would know this, but what we do know is they signed McCole Hardman to the active roster, and they activated, or they pulled up Gabe Davis from the practice squad, and Josh Palmer's healthy. So I personally don't think it makes a ton of sense with Dalton Kincaid out, where Keon can kind of be that big tight end type of guy. I guess we autoed CMC here. But, hey, if it is crazy, right? Maybe the Bills are upset at how Keon's playing. I don't know. Maybe it's a 1 week thing. Maybe it's a multiple week thing. Maybe it doesn't happen. But it does make, in order, I would list it Josh Palmer. I want to say Gabe Davis, but it's kind of weird because Gabe Davis is still on the practice squad and McCole Hardman is on the active roster. So we know McCole Hardman could get there on like one catch. He'd probably be gadgety stuff. So probably go Josh Palmer, Gabe Davis. McCole Hardman. All right. Anyways, let's call out some 35 plus guys here. All right, Jameis. That's an obvious one, right? Jameis, you should be mixing in some Jameis, in my opinion. Let's just run through the Week 11 slate. Tough matchup, but that will keep ownership lower too. Sure. Talking about the Bills, we'll go Josh. Let's go Jalen Warren. Horrid Bengals D. Texans Titans. Woody Marks, very intriguing, playing a lot more. No CJ Stroud, I think, again in this one. Panthers Falcons. You always got to wonder, is the travel back from the country going to impact the Falcons? But it's a good matchup on paper. Vikings got a good matchup on paper here against the Bears. Chargers, pretty intriguing. This game's got some weather concerns, I think, but in general, pretty intriguing game, especially on the Bills side where it's like, who is playing? Steelers, Bengals, super intriguing matchup, game stack wise, where terrible Bengals defense, not that good Steelers defense, could see some shootout here. 49ers, Cardinals. Marvin Harrison's out, so yeah, I like Michael Wilson quite a bit in this one as a scroll. Been running all the routes, been getting a bunch of targets. Seahawks, Rams. I kind of like the Rams to just like handily win this one, but we'll see. Could be a shootout. Chiefs, Broncos. J.K. Dobbins is on IR. Sad for him. But obviously, maybe a 0% drafted Jaleel McLaughlin has some intrigue in these big field contests. And then Ravens, Browns, probably going to be a beatdown there. How much will the Ravens need to score is a question. Maybe even a Derrick Henry game. And I think Justice Hill's out for that one. So like insane scroll down Keaton Mitchell. All right, let's get T. Let's get a little game stack going on there. And this is Rip Loveland. Why not? Getting unique here. Taking a guy I don't need too early. Where I'm ending with the wide receiver. So leaves me open to take any of the Bills guys. No one else is going to take them. Just taking the tight end I want to have there. I mean, I don't know. Like, we don't really know what's happening behind the scenes. We never know if a player's dealing with injury. He scored a touchdown last week. There have been some rumblings that he has been like jogging routes and stuff like that, which I don't know if it's true. You would think if he's like, I kind of doubt it, Paul. Number one, the Bills tend to believe in their ability to like draft a player. So everyone last year, Dalton Kincaid sucks. What's he this year? Literally one of the best tight ends in football. So maybe Keon could develop. Also, again, no offense to cover one. I'm sure this is more likely to be true than not, but this could be a fib or just like engagement or just the source just want, whatever. The source is just like, oh, look for Keon to maybe get scratched. Like, it's not hard to connect the dots, right? Josh Palmer's back. Gabe Davis, McCole Hardman. I don't even know if Gabe Davis is like 100% healthy yet, right? And Gabe Davis might just be better than Keon at this stage. Hard to say. But I kind of doubt it, right? Like, the trade deadline was there. If you really were over him, you could have traded him, and they didn't. I think we'll just go Shakir here. So, pretty logical build here. We got Chalk, running back, Chalk, combo, 3 picks, get a game stack, and then scroll for tight end early, scroll for wide receiver. Take 2 guys who are rarely drafted, take one of them early. That's how you build a unique team that can win. Of course, this stacks with Josh Allen. So I like that build. All right, let's go through just finish that exercise. All right, so again, quarterback is not as great a position to scroll in my opinion because it's just not really as needed as much, but all right. Rodgers, he seems like a great one, right? If you can get that game to go off, but like if you're going to be taking Rodgers, I probably want to do it in a game stack, right? Because by ADP, Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, Herbert, Stafford, Purdy, Flacco, like these are the quarterbacks being taken. Some Mayfield, some McCarthy. Rodgers is going to be taken, but yeah, if you're taking Rodgers, like I want to have probably Jamar Chase. I might even want to have Jalen Warren in there. Maybe want to have T. Higgins. Like seems like a good quarterback to stack it up, as we know he's not going to get there on the ground. Jameis Winston, insane scroll down. Don't think you need to like in these battle royales with 6 people. Ideally, you stack Jameis with like Wandale. I don't think Slayton's playing, but I wouldn't say it's 100% needed. Yeah, Slayton's out because whatever, he can just spread it around. And then another guy I quite like. Let's go Chase. Maybe we'll get that Rodgers stack we're talking about. Another guy I like is quite a bit actually is Jordan Love. Sentiment is like so low on him. I mean, I just know Jordan Love still has it. Now, what is the most likely outcome for this game? Okay, the Packers win easily. Josh Jacobs gets there, but no one's going to be doing the Love stack. So Love with Dobbs, Love with Christian Watson, Love with Wicks, Love with Musgrave. Those I think are pretty interesting. And you would think if the Packers have the ability to, they might want to get the passing game going. So some intriguing guys there. A lot of honesty. It's a good slate to get some scroll down quarterbacks because Caleb's reasonable, Darnold's reasonable, even Bo's reasonable. Like not a good real life quarterback, but a good fantasy option at times. I think Trevor's reasonable. He literally has 2 rushing touchdowns in 2 games this year. Let's do kind of want Warren, but let's go Chase Jefferson just because how often in history can you get this combo? Yes, definitely wind is going to be a thing, but also like we can see that's overblown at times, right? Example, just last week, what was the win game? Oh, it was Giants. The win game was Giants Bears. Passing game can't go there. What happened? Dart was an utter smash, right? The best guy for weather is Kevin Roth. Let's see. It's like too many ads. It's got to load. But even he was down on that game last week. And that game, like, Dart was a smash, would have been an even bigger smash. So, okay, let's see. Winds around 10 to 15 miles per hour. Not a big deal. Bengals Steelers. A bit breezy here. Sustained winds, wind gusts. Bucks and Bills. It's going to be wind. Some rain and snow. Cold. Ravens, windy. Now, longtime watchers of the NFL will know one of the windiest games we got ever is the Bills versus Patriots game a couple years ago with like Mac Jones when the Pats were not good at all. And like the Pats threw the ball like 5 times. Josh Allen could still throw the ball in that game, even against the wind. So again, in general, I think not hyper focusing on weather is probably better than the reverse. That's- I'm not a big Derrick Henry guy, but feels like a game. If there's going to be a game he could get there, it's going to be this one. All right, let's just rip Rodgers with Warren. Warren catches passes. Even if not, they can both get there. It's not the best matchup for DK Metcalf in the world because the Bengals have a good corner, but we know that he can get there on doesn't matter how good a corner you are. If someone runs a slant against you and you get they run like an offensive pick, basically. I want to take one of these tight ends with Rodgers, but it's such a thin parlay where you need the Rodgers, Warren, and then you need to guess the right tight end. Seems tough. Think he's pretty reasonable. He outsnapped Monangai quite a bit, but I'm gonna go through. We'll do another draft, and then I'll bang out running back, wide receiver, tight end. Yeah, DFS is it's similar but different, right? Man, it's just dude, guessing these tight ends with Rodgers though is crazy. It's three targets here, two targets here, one target here. Honestly, Dawson Knox is a pretty good scroll. Tight end is an easy one, I feel. It's just the most logical position to get different. Yeah, it could be Washington. You know what, Knox? Here's your chance. Everyone's gonna be talking about the wideouts. He's gonna be on the field a ton until Kincaid returns. Okay, let's fire up another one here and go through the top 3 or so 35 plus ADP running backs. So, okay, I mean, even in the bad matchup, I think Judkins did well against the Ravens before. It's a windy game, so I like that one. We'll mention more than just 3. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Swift is reasonable, right? He's going to have the snaps. He's involved in the passing game. He had 7 targets or something last game. Rashad White, I don't think Bucky's going to play. Yeah, he's out. Godwin's out. So, obviously, the stuff with... Now, I do think people are overrating how bad the Bills' defense is against the run a little bit from watching those games because, for example, against the Dolphins, it wasn't until the game was actually over where it was Josh Allen had a fumble late in the game, and that's when I would say the game was actually over. After that, HN had 2 long breakaway runs. So I kind of think the team quit a little bit. They are getting reinforcements, but obviously on paper, Rashad White's a pretty good matchup. And in theory, he should be explosive because he's fast. But yeah, I think continuing to mix in some Ken Walker makes a lot of sense. He's not had a blow-up game. The game log looks terrible. But, I mean, it's Ken Walker. We know he can get there on literally 1 target. Sean Tucker is a crazier version of Rashad White, but he's arguably the more explosive runner. So if you think that game could be competitive, I like a little bit. Obviously, the chalk guys are there's a lot of running backs in great matchups this week, like Jaylen Warren, Aaron Jones. People are going to be doing RJ Harvey. But yeah, so I like Judkins. I like Swift, Ken Walker, and then I'll give maybe more DFS, super large field, maybe Jaleel McLaughlin. No J.K. Dobbins. Probably don't need to go there in battle royales, but it's interesting. You could get totally 0 points, but Broncos could be trailing. Maybe they mix them in. You gotta tell me what it is. I'm not looked at it. Okay, wide receivers 35 plus. We'll give a couple here. Okay, every Bills wide receiver, like literally rinse and repeat. It's hard to know which ones, but Shakir is the one who should get the most targets. He's the one who should benefit the most from like target wise without Kincaid. They just kind of overlap the same side of the field. And then, guys you're trying to get there on Josh Palmer, I think is quite intriguing. He's a little outside, like out of memory. People are probably not even going to be hip that he's back. And maybe they're counting on him. Like if they truly do scratch Keon Coleman, like think about that. There's no Dalton Kincaid. There's no Keon. So who is the ball going to in the passing game against a team that you can pass the football on? That's something you got to ask yourself. I do think Cook probably gets a boost. Like maybe he gets more targets than usual in the short area of the field. He got 5 last game, and he got them before they were like trailing big too. So it could just be a boost to Cook, but like, okay, thinking about it, Shakir, Palmer, probably the main guys, but then guys who could get there on literally 3 targets, Mecole Hardman, Gabe Davis. No one knows how much these guys are playing. I would only recommend it in stacks. You don't need to do it a lot. I'm talking like a couple teams, but it's intriguing. I don't know, man. Like in theory, Curtis Samuel should be doing well. But in practice, like Curtis Samuel from 3 years ago, 2 years ago would be crushing on this term of the Bills. And I just don't think I don't know. I don't know if Father Time caught up to him. I don't know if it's because he looked okay at the end of last year too after the turf toe. But yeah, he's just not been impressive. Maybe he'll be running routes, but like I kind of feel like we'd be seeing it if Curtis Samuel had it. Okay, other wide receivers I like. Again, I think Michael Wilson's pretty intriguing. I picked him up in some high-stakes teams without Marvin Harrison. He's running a bunch of routes. He's getting a bunch of targets. 49ers defense, pretty injured. No one's going to want to click him. I think Christian Watson's super intriguing. Weather concerns, decent yardage. Like one of these weeks, Christian Watson's going to catch a long touchdown. And that's the week that you'll need him. I mean, if it's true, people are not drafting Brian Thomas at all. Who are they going to throw the ball to? So I like him. Wide receiver, like you can find guys every week pretty much. Sure, we'll go Lamar. Kind of like the Cook with Lamar, Derrick Henry with Josh type of stuff. Remain interested in Rashid Shaheed. Game 2. Your guess is as good as mine as far as like when he's going to be fully integrated in the offense. Yeah, let's just rip Zay here. So there's a lot of guys actually like in the scroll down, which just shows you if you're doing a volume amount of these, like there is 0 reason to always take Zay Flowers. There is 0 reason to always take DK Metcalf, Wan'Dale Robinson, Rome Odunze, whatever. When there's so many wide receivers here, like Ricky Pearsall, honestly, he seems like a fantastic scroll if people are not playing him. He's playing. So you would think he's fully healthy here. He's probably like a star play as far as like very reasonable, talented guy. I mean, I don't think I'd recommend Keon right now with him likely being out, but okay, if you're really brave, you could do that. Calvin Austin's being mad targets too. Think he's a reasonable scroll. So there's so many wide receivers. Some of the stuff better for the dog bowl too. And then tight end is just like, we'll fire up another draft and talk about tight end because I'm sure some of them got taken. Yeah, Laporta going on IR. Interesting. I think the most obvious effect is it's just going to be more targets for the main guys. Like, I don't think like Brock Wright is going to start getting targets. And the biggest beneficiary is, sure, let's get a fan and stack on this Lamar team. Why not? I think the biggest beneficiary is JMO. But yeah, it's good for Gibbs. It's good for Amon-Ra. It's good for JMO. Maybe, just maybe, it means that Tesla could have a game here or there. Okay. Tight end. So, Loveland, think he's a fantastic play every week. We're now a week removed here. It just continues to look good, right? And has, as we've seen, downfield ability. Knox, pretty intriguing with no Kincaid. Everyone's going to be talking about the wide receivers. They could be forgetting Knox. He's used in the red zone. Jackson Hawes is still a blocking tight end. We'll try to talk about the cheap. I get Luke Musgrave. There was a lot of hype about him. They had a bad game against the Eagles. He's a super reasonable play. He's running all the routes, and he is a downfield player. So, yeah, there's a little bit of weather concerns, but I think he's actually a fantastic play, talent-wise. I think Isaiah Likely is still pretty interesting for Lamar stacks, pretty much. I can't. If we could guess the Bengals tight end, sure. And maybe, like, if you're doing 150 of these, which, like, I never do, maybe you do 5 teams of Jonnu, 5 teams of Freiermuth. Those are the 2 guys, mainly. Just knowing that, okay, one's a 0, but who cares? If one of them scores 20, now you might win the contest. And the fact that it's hard to guess. I think it's like a slight lean to Freiermuth, but yeah, it's hard to say. And maybe you do like 2 teams of Darnell Washington. But a lot of tight ends to like. Let's flip the board. Let's go Cook, pulled up, Bijan. Another simple way of just playing well. Yeah, I mean, Raymond, I don't know, man. I can't do Raymond. But yeah, if Tesla's out, okay. Maybe in DFS land, but not for this. Cade Otton, like, yeah, like he's going to get the targets, but no tight end has gotten there against Buffalo. So, not a good matchup. Yeah, the more I think about it, like Musgrave, fantastic play. You can't project Musgrave. The whole Packers passing game, very intriguing. People just watched them against the Eagles struggle in an ugly game. Now they think they're just going to only run the football against the Giants. Anytime there's just like, when you think through these like obvious narratives like that, it's like, well, what if Jordan Love just hits a couple bombs? Yeah. Brian, given all the tight ends. Don't know how this is relevant to what we're talking about right now, but that is true. Sure. Nico and Ladd. So when you get unique at one spot here, which why is James Cook so cheap? I guess it's just people like other players better. But an ADP of 14 means that Cook is going at the 2-3 turn. Yeah, I don't know. He's in a, game should be pretty high scoring. Bucks, and it could be used a lot in the passing game, But yeah, anytime you get unique, it's more okay to just go like, okay, take the 2 top ADP guys, and then both quarterback and tight end are easier positions to get unique at. So I can go Herbert, and then I can get different at tight end, right? And it's okay to have some teams that are not quote unquote unique, especially if you're drafting early on in the week when ADPs will change. Let's view the quotes on this. See if there's any like other sources talking about this. Of course, it's going to be mostly just people trying to dunk on him. But like Schefter is someone we want to weigh in on this. Yeah, so Cole Hardman signed to the team. I guess they're more worried about Hardman leaving than Gabe because Gabe Davis probably clearly wants to stay in Buffalo, so they're not worried about him getting poached. The interesting thing about the Bills' run defense is they're actually quite a good run defense at stuffing running backs, meaning like running backs that get stopped at the line of scrimmage or behind, but they're a bad run defense in the terms of if they do not and a running back gets ahead of steam, we've seen a lot of breakaway runners on them. So yeah, I think Sean Tucker is interesting. It's a little thin, and I've not been following. Let's look at the Bills practice report. Okay, let's make our picks first. Of course, this guy goes Herbert, but he has Gadsden, so that makes sense actually. Let's see. Let's go Musgrave and Jordan Love. Right, so relatively chalky team, got weird with unique, and a stack I quite like, Love and Musgrave. Good, should be unique. It's not going to project well because Musgrave won't project well, but I like the thought behind it a lot. Let's jump in a dog bowl here. Again, I don't even know if I would want to go to this if I win, but why not? It's a fun contest to play regardless. What was I trying to look up? I don't remember now. Oh, Bill's practice report. Some teams tweet these. Sometimes you have to find beat reporters. Here we go. Yeah, some teams have these like PR accounts. Okay. So this is Friday's report. So, okay, here's one reinforcement. TJ Sanders, he's a rookie. Okay, Epinesa, he was out the last game, played great the game before. So, okay, reinforcement number 1, Epinesa. Reinforcement likely number 2, TJ Sanders. Kincaid is out. We knew that. Josh Palmer's back. Yeah, TJ Sanders almost certainly going to return full. Reinforcement number 4, Shaq Thompson, linebacker, which is quite notable because some of like the Bills' best defensive players of years past, which I like, Terrell Bernard does not look healthy at all. I just don't think he's healthy right now. To the point where if you could, I think you'd want to sit him and just let him get healthy. Like, he is a big reason that a lot of these runs are going long. So if you can sit him for Shaq Thompson, now they'll probably keep him active, but if you could just keep him off the field. Teron Johnson also doesn't look quite the same. But okay, several reinforcements on the D line coming, or on the defense coming back. Seems like Shaq is, seems like Sanders is, seems like Epinesa is, which does matter for this team because they had a ton of injuries. Keon just had a nice touchdown. Hadn't heard benching, especially if Kincaid healing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. We don't know behind the scenes again. I'm not. Obviously, I would think it's more likely than not that Keon is benched because they're probably not making that up. Now, at the same time, you got to wonder, would a Cover One is essentially like a YouTube channel for the Bills. Would they have a scoop before a big reporter? Maybe, maybe not, right? Like, in general, I would say no, right? It would make more sense that like Schefter would tweet that out, or one of the million mouthpieces for agents, right? And the other thing I would say is like the Bills historically, like, they don't let stuff out. Like, stuff does generally not leak from them, which maybe does give a little bit of like, the fact that stuff doesn't leak from them maybe does make sense that like, oh, Schefter wouldn't have this. It would be a Bill source that just knows these Cover One guys, right? Because they like Cover One sometimes has like real Bills players come on the channel too. Keon had a touchdown. Good, but that doesn't tell a full story. Again, maybe he's not running, like, I'm not dissecting the tape each week. Maybe he's not running the routes. Maybe he's jogging effort, etc. Andrew, I could see that. People are pretty down on the DK matchup because he's got I think like Logan Wilson or whatever. Or no, they get the good wideout. By would, did you mean wouldn't? I don't know. I mean, I know Mike does Bills radio. I don't know how many sources he has inside the Bills or whatever. Wow. So pretty interesting that Jamar Chase has an ADP of 2 in the Battle Royale, but Bijan went 2 here. Yeah, DJ Turner. Yeah, maybe this would be make more sense to me. Also interesting, Cook has a higher ADP in Battle Royale, but Warren does here. Honestly, I like both matchups, but I'm going to play Cook. He's just a better player. Obviously, the matchup for Warren is way better, but again, I think people could be underrating that Cook could be used more in the passing game. Maybe a bench the stars motivation. That could be it. It could be like a 1 week, like, hey, dude, wake up. It could also be a thing where they'd rather, like, they want to see what McCole Hardman has. They want to see what Gabe Davis has. They want to see whatever. And maybe they'd rather just make Keon inactive to do that than field questions like, well, why was he active and he didn't play? You could just kind of say like, oh, injury, discipline, whatever. Yes, there has been a little bit of this too. He like had to sit a quarter for coming late, yada yada. So yeah, we never know, Sure. I think Josh with Cook, a little bit less done. And again, part of the thesis this week is the passing game. I mean, On that topic of we never know, like Sammy Watkins was literally drinking, Bill's wide receiver, had all the talent in the world, but Sammy Watkins was literally like going to practice drunk. So, what do we know? I'm really interested. Like, I'm interested to know if it actually happens. If Keon actually is inactive. This account saying if they go 6 wide receivers, Palmer's back, Gabe will be active, Shakir's a lock, Shavers is going to be active, Hardman's active. That leaves one spot for Keon, Curtis Samuel, or more. So maybe they just prefer like Curtis Samuel's long speed or what Elijah Moore offers. Mm, I don't know if this is a serious comment. If it is, obviously this is ridiculous. What's everyone's thoughts on Chargers Jacks? I mean, I don't think anyone's going to. Sentiment is at like an all-time low for the Jags. The Chargers, if you remember, have been a bit of a run funnel. Like JT had a huge game against them, so could see ETN having a good game against them. Again, like they don't have any wide receivers active other than even Parker Washington was banged up. I think he's fine. Yeah, he's in. Limited in practice though. And like Brian Thomas, is of course I think gonna play, but he's limited, so who knows? Brenton Strange is still out for this one. Baker or Purdy? What's the context there? Is it for DFS? I think Purdy's pretty intriguing. You would think that he's actually fully healthy now because they rushed him back earlier. But Baker and Josh, they're friends. Baker's a good player, so I don't think there's any wrong answers there, Cap. In general, though, quarterbacks have not been getting there a ton. Okay, let's take a second quarterback. Won't let me. What are we doing here? Let's get a game stack. Let's go Rashad White. Allen Cook White. Gadsden going high. Jags have been getting a little crushed by tight ends. Okay. A little bummer here. This guy takes Shakir. Obviously, someone I wanted to stack with Josh. But could be a benefit, this type of stuff. Because with Josh, you have like 500 stacking options that no one's taking. So opens me up to get more unique. Honestly, there's so many wide receivers to like. I don't feel the need to take any of these guys either. Let's take Ricky Pearsall. Clicking a second quarterback works 1 of 1,000 times. Yeah, 999 times it charges you an extra $10, but that 1,000th time you get a second quarterback. Interesting idea. I mean, I definitely think it's possible, Andrew, but again, I will say it's not ideal that the team has to travel back from Germany, right? you got to wonder if okay, the Falcons season is lost, right? They're not making the playoffs. They're 3-7 or whatever. Carolina's got to be uber motivated to win. They're essentially a playoff team right now, and they just had a bad loss. Or they're a borderline playoff team. Atlanta's also coming off overtime. Teams coming off of overtime historically almost always flop a little bit. So that's something to be noted about. And then yeah, it's the travel, and you got to wonder, like, okay, they're in Germany. Were some of them going out and partying after the game? I don't know. Like, they probably went right on the plane and left, but maybe even before the game, maybe there's a little party and you're in Germany once. Your team's 3-6. Michael Penix's probably not that good, so I don't know. There's a lot to doubt there, Andrew. What do you mean by best ball? Are you talking about like those quarter drafts, which I've not been doing at all, or are you talking about daily drafts here? Yeah, that was crazy by the Falcons. Well, yeah, there is the fact that the Panthers just beat the Falcons. That's not as meaningful to me. It's more about, like, obviously sharp bettors think about everything I just said there, but like the casual bettor that's just like, oh, Panthers suck. Bijan goes burr. They're not thinking about, oh, the team played overtime. Oh, they're having to travel. He's reasonable in the quarter. It's crazy we can still trade in fantasy, but not in the NFL. Someone offered me Olave for Tez and Marks. Tez Johnson. My running backs and wideouts are CD London, Hendo Judkins, Chase Brown, Ridley, and Keenan. So, I mean, the real question is, Woody Marks is, you might be regretting trading away Woody Marks. I'll say that, Frosty. I do think you're getting the best player in the trade, though, Olave. So if you're really upgrading, like, it seems like you are going, it kind of depends on what your scoring, your league settings are. If this is a league where you have to start 3 wide receivers and you get to go from starting CD in London every week plus one of Ridley or Keenan to getting to start Olave, I would say definitely do that, right? Because getting a pencil in Olave instead of Ridley and Keenan is just like a huge boost. But if it's like a double flex league, if it's a league with just 2 wide receivers, well, then, maybe holding Woody Marks and just playing the best matchup between your running backs also makes some sense there. But in general, I probably lean trade. Okay, let's get a tight end here. Let's go Loveland this time. It's 2 running backs, 2 wideouts, 2 flex. Yeah, so the 2 flex makes things a little closer there because the question is, do you want to go from starting? My assumption for your starting lineup is CD London, Judkins, Hendo, Chase Brown. You're starting like 3 of these. So, like, do you want to be able to play the best matchup when Woody Marks has a good matchup, which he plays like the Titans still, he plays the Chargers still? Or do you want to just pencil in Olave there and kind of live and die by his games? Pretty close, though. Because Olave, obviously awesome, but yeah, in 2 wideouts league, it's just not quite the same. And the other thing is, like, you got no depth. So if London or CD goes down, you might really be regretting not getting Olave. And you do have depth at running back. But maybe you could get any, like, if teams are desperate at running back, you might be able to get even more than Olave. Okay. And then I think Christian Watson here, but we're going to go Josh Palmer. It's going to be literally 0% drafted. So, and the Dog Bowl is the type of contest where if you are not first, you are last. Those types of contests should change significantly how you draft versus contests with more flatter payouts. I'm going to get some water. I got a couple more drafts, then we'll get out of here. The other variable there is you're saying, like, I don't like the Saints, anything about them, which is fair. But the other variable there is Tyler Shuck was like legit awesome last week. Like, not just like, oh, interesting, like awesome. And so there is a chance, not the biggest chance in the world, but there is a chance that Tyler Shuck is actually like a starting quarterback in this league. And Olave is about to go on some like generational run where he's competing with like all these bums for targets, right? So that's oh yeah, they're on bye. So I can't pull up his game logs. But, that's a variable there, Rusty, where like maybe you want to gamble that, hey, you know what? Tyler Shuck is actually going to be scorched earth down this stretch and like not just some bum, which obviously that's what I think most people thought he'd be, which would obviously boost Olave if that's the case. Yeah, if you could package like Kittle and Marks to get McBride, I'd try to do that. You're giving away two good players, and Kittle looks healthier now. But obviously, McBride is just like tight end one. If it's not Bowers, like him, and just being able to get that and manage is pretty valuable. But I wouldn't go crazy because Kittle, I think, is looking a lot healthier. So it's not like you have a bad tight end. The tough thing about my home league is no one will trade with me. Number one, I'm the commissioner. Number two, I play like the villain a little bit. Number three, they obviously know I've had fantasy football success. So like no one wants to trade with me and risk, and like also my league like mercilessly makes fun of each other. No one wants to risk trading with me and then being made fun of, where it's like, oh, you can't believe you gave Liam this, yada yada yada. So like even when I'm sending trades that are like win-win, right? Like right now, it's a 14-team league. I'm like fighting for a playoff spot, but my quarterback is Trevor Lawrence, and so many of these, like, you guys know home league. So many of these guys have like 2 quarterbacks, 3 quarterbacks that they don't need. So I'm sending like very reasonable trades where I'm like giving them a skill player that would hit their starting lineup, which is a lot more valuable than their quarterback, but they're like, I just get stonewalled. So is what it is. Would have loved to get Cook and Warren. Maybe I should have gone Warren first and I had a better chance at that. Don't want to go. Let's go Cook Igbuka. That's a fun one. God, man. Amika Igbuka. Some of these teams I have with Amika Igbuka in like the 9th round in BBM is just like, can't wait for the best ball playoffs to start. Regular people don't know. Week 15 rolls around. They're like, what's that twinkle in that guy's eye over there? Talking about us, guys. We all have a little twinkle there because we know that someone's life is about to change They're about to get $2 million in 3 weeks. What's going to be awarded just from the main best ball contest? $2 million on Underdog, $2 million on DraftKings. Not even mentioning like second place for $1 million, whatever. So call that like $6 million. Then you got all the high stakes contests. Something like 10 something odd $1 million will be awarded by week 17 just from best ball. Insane. Probably more. Really is. My first year playing best ball was the year Alvin Kamara crushed streams on Christmas. We did talk about that for a while, Ireland. Do you have a specific question about it? Or you just kind of want me to run through that again? This will probably be my last draft, ladies and gents. I've never like drafted even 100 teams in Battle Royale. It's a good idea in practice. It's doable, but it's like it's a grind, and I draft so much in actual best ball season, and you can't win as much money, so and the edge is not as big. Yeah, too long don't read. Don't know if it's true. Don't know how sticky it would be. Intriguing though. What do we think, guys? And or one girl watching. Put a percentage chance that Keon is inactive tomorrow. Are you guys thinking it's 100% inactive? Are you thinking it's 95? Are you thinking it's like 70%? My guess is if it's true, we'll get like, we would know by 11, 12 tonight because some like a big account would actually tweet it. Alex is not buying the inactive. He's thinking it's only 40%. Standing brave, Alex. J Live says he's definitely active. Remember, if you say 100%, you think he's 100% inactive, not active, inactive. Where do we want to go here? We autoed Mahomes. I will say they're not typically an account that would be doing this for engagement, but their credibility will take a pretty big hit if it is. I mean, I don't really know how to quantify this. I think he's a 75 on Madden. Like, clearly he's not a all-pro talent. But again, I'll repeat that. Okay, now obviously if the Bills are making him inactive, that's not a good vote of confidence. But people were very confident Dalton Kincaid was a bust last year, and he is literally one of the best tight ends in football. I don't really like Kelsey, but if we're going Mahomes, why not? Keon's best role is probably the reason why the inactive would be a little bit confusing is Keon's best role is probably like tight end-esque routes, big slot. currently. But yeah, if you start doing the math, Josh Palmer's active, Shakir's active, Tyrell Shavers is active because of special teams. Gabe Davis is active. Nicole Hardman's active. That only leaves one spot for either Keon, Elijah Moore, or Curtis Samuel. And I could see how it could be argued that Keon's skill overlaps with Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is a better blocking wide receiver than Keon. Nicole Hardman is faster than Keon / gadget stuff. Now, I mean, we know Nicole Hardman is like not that good of a wideout, right? But hey, fast guy goes Burr, Josh Allen, right? Maybe they just want to add the speed, mix things up. The Bills also have the liberty that, you know what? Obviously, this game's important to win for them. But they have the liberty to be like, you know what? Let's see some formations with Gabe and Nicole Hardman and Elijah Moore, whatever. Mixing up the personnel and seeing how that goes, because clearly the passing game's not been a world beater. And they don't have Dalton Kincaid, who's their best pass catcher. And the Bills' number one issue is defense, and they're getting a lot of defense reinforcements right now. Keon didn't live up to the hype. I mean, who did, James? Ladd McConkey, right? Worthy looking like a bust-ish. Jalen Polk, bust-ish. Xavier Legette, bust-ish. So here, I'll pull up last year's draft. Wasn't a great draft. Ladd McConkey is the only one that seems like for sure a hit. And, you know, year 2 is not a death knell for a player. If I know it takes some patience, but you need to remember that like even Devontae Adams takes some time. Obviously, it's hard to be Devontae Adams, but yeah. Okay, last year. Worthy. No. Pearsall also looks good. Like, he can't really stay healthy, but he looks good. Legette. No. Keon. I mean, obviously, it's not looking fantastic right now. Ladd. Big hit. Polk. Definitely not. Mitchell. I mean, no. Like, he looks good, but he just seems like a knucklehead. Corley. Big bust. Burton. Definitely not. Roman Wilson. Not really. Jalen McMillan honestly looked pretty good, but yeah. And then like Troy Franklin is actually looking good right now. McCaffrey, no. And obviously, like how these guys are doing is not too relevant because none of them are going high in the draft. Yeah, well, I mean, as a Bills fan, a lot of people thought the Bills might take Adonai Mitchell. I mean, low-key true. The bigger thing is like if Keon's being a knucklehead, which we have no idea. Okay, you can't be doing that. But, you know, these are young men. Things can be going on in their lives that we have no idea about. Right? I know it's pretty easy on the outside to be like, they're NFL players. What do they got to complain about? But, like, you know, in everyone's life, struggles happen. I hope cheap Ireland because I really thought he was going to break out, but we'll see. It's such a bummer we didn't even get to see like a single game post by. Literally, there was an article that's like, oh, he's going to be the wide receiver 1 now. And then a big fat nope. So I like Michael Wilson. I also like Christian Watson. You know what? We're a Christian Watson guy at heart. Don't think double tight end's that crazy this week either. A lot of good options here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good luck tomorrow. Again, no write-up on the site this week. Just did it live if you want to see how I talked about the players with a 35-plus ADP. Again, the guy who won the Battle Royale last year, part of our community. So join the Discord links below. Peace out.